Hello, I am Dr. Dencer-Brown, a lecturer in academic practice at Edinburgh Napier University. This is my Pecha Kucha presentation on Pedagogies of Compassion and Care, introducing Sustainable Development Goal 4 at master's level on our blended and online education programme. So this Pecha Kucha will journey through the construction and implementation of a module on our programme called Supporting the Blended and Online Student Experience. It's a 20 credit module and our students team teach in small groups and they're both peer and self-marked. There's a strong emphasis on SDG 4 throughout the module, and it's delivered online both synchronously and asynchronously and involves the use of blogging as a form of inclusive assessment, which will be included in this presentation. So the aims of the module were to foster the development of critical, inclusive and practical understanding of how to effectively support students in blended and online learning contexts. And we redeveloped this module with a particular sensitivity to issues including inclusive pedagogies, individual needs, accessibility, access to sustainable education and equitable education as well. The module content was divided into 4 units. So there was Unit 1's Education for Sustainable Development in Higher Education, Unit 2's Inclusive Practices, and Unit 3's Individual Student Needs, and Unit 4 was Pedagogies of Care. So each unit had an introduction and a brief unit reader containing details of resources and key references that provided a strong foundation in the theme of the unit. And the first unit was led by the module team, myself and my colleagues, and the rest was student-led. So our students on our master's programme are teaching and professional services staff who support learning and teaching across institutions and across countries, with our current cohort and a mixture of internal and external colleagues studying for masters, or they could exit with a PG Cert or a PG Dip in blended and online education. So there are 2 components for the summative assessment. So we had the group work student-led seminars, which is 60% of the final grade, and then the blog, which is 40% of their final grade for the module. The group seminars were 2 hours of student activity, including a live online seminar and supplementary materials, and the blog consisted of 5 blog posts, approximately 400 words each, with references as additional to that. So the group work basically in groups of kind of 3 or 4 for this recent cohort redeveloped module. They prepared and facilitated a 90-minute online seminar based on their selected unit theme that they chose, and it was designed to provide them with the opportunity to moderate a synchronous session, but also an asynchronous discussion or activities, but also face those challenges that are inherent to facilitating collaborative learning in an online environment. So we had peer, self and learner evaluation within that group work. So they were required to participate in the student-led seminars for each of the other units, as were we, the module team, as students too. They led one of the seminars, and for the other 2, they took an active part as a regular seminar participant, and they completed a peer review feedback form where they are a participant, and then a team and self-evaluation form. It's a lot of paperwork and a lot of calculation of grades around that, but it was really effective way of assessing. They also created and maintained that reflective blog. So that consisted of 5 posts in total, including an introduction and conclusion, and 1 per fortnight. So as they were travelling through this experience of being a learner on this module, but also in their own professional roles, they might be lecturers, they might be professional services and supporting students. So that they're wearing multiple hats throughout all of the time on this module. So this is meant to capture their own student experience in studying on this module and provide a narrative related to the general themes and selected concepts from the 4 units, and it offered an insight into their understanding of the implications for their own teaching or professional practice, and was supported by the literature. So Unit 1 on Education for Sustainable Development included introducing that as an overarching concept, which includes social justice, equity and inclusion, defined as a process of learning of how to make decisions that consider the long-term future of the economy, ecology and equity of all communities, and building the capacity for such future-orientated action as a key task of education. ESD is based on the values that allow all human beings to acquire the knowledge, skills and attitudes and values necessary to shape a sustainable future, but it also requires participatory teaching and learning methods that motivate and empower learners to change their behaviour and take action for sustainable development. So promoting those competencies like critical thinking, imagining future scenarios and making decisions in a collaborative way, which they needed to do throughout this module as well. So yes, and just a little bit more about those qualities. So critical reflection, systems thinking and analysis, participatory learning and thinking creatively for future scenarios and collaborative learning. So there's 17 SDGs set by the United Nations, and each countries have their own approaches, including the majority of places of learning, such as schools, colleges and universities. There might be a focus on this SDG 4, quality and inclusive education and lifelong learning for all at many institutions. This one is facing huge global problems as inequalities rise between genders and countries. But we also wanted to put in this idea of framing education for sustainable development, not only in terms of sustainable development goals, that's not the entire picture, and we can miss out on embedding sustainable learning and equality of opportunities for our learners if we just try to fit things neatly into those boxes, and also might reduce that chance for innovation and creativity. So just letting our students kind of understand that as well. So as we know, there are many inequalities, including digital inequalities and acting out in our daily lives, and that can be seen starkly in the context of education. Caroline Sart in 2018 identified education-related inequalities into 3 broad categories: access to education, experiences of education, and outcome opportunities on leaving formal education. So we had development workshops as well that helped them develop their own practice, what they wanted us to learn when they were planning their teaching, and the ways they thought were effective for us to learn about these important issues. And thinking about engaging the online learner and what that looked like whilst they were designing their workshops. Each student-led unit had a reader and a mini podcast on each topic as a discussion with practitioners, our librarian on accessibility, an academic scholar on decolonising practices, and an academic practice lecturer on pedagogies of care. And participants, our students, designed the workshop, pre-workshop and reading activities and participated in each other's students' units. The outcomes were that this was a successful module with high passes and distinctions, and feedback included the enjoyment of writing reflective blog posts. Participants have since implemented blog writing in their own assessments for their students and delivered a Pedagogies of Compassion and Care workshop university-wide, which was really well attended this year with 40 colleagues, and many said they didn't realise how ESD was relevant not only for their own roles, but how they can relate to the importance of it for their own work and empowerment of their students. Thank you so much for listening. Here's my list of references, and speak to you all soon. Bye.